Good morning, everyone. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. This is Suresh Ramani here, and welcome to our webinar Beyond Emails, Productivity, Security, and Compliance with Microsoft 365 Business Premium. This event is being jointly hosted by Microsoft security experts and TechGyan, which is the 3 times Microsoft Worldwide Partner of the Year award winner. So quick housekeeping. There at the top of your screen, you'll see a chat and you'll see Q&A. The chat will be used primarily for us to post various resources, some links, some resources, the feedback form. Questions you can post on the Q&A part. So, that's one part. So let's get started. A brief introduction to TechGyan. We offer we have 3 service offerings. Teamwork 365, which is for collaboration productivity. Secure IT 365, which is for security and compliance. And Data Center 365, which is for data center transformation and migration. Our focus is to create a digital nervous system for our customers, so that when you have an effective digital nervous system in place, information travels from any part of the company to anywhere in the company, and which helps in decision making. So let me set the context for today's topic. What we are seeing is that cyber threats are increasing. Many of you would have probably heard or read about the news of a major car manufacturer in the world whose operations stopped due to a cyber attack, and they are facing huge losses every day. So it means cyber threats are real. They are absolutely real. We all need to be prepared. So in addition to this, there was a NASSCOM advisory a few months back in which they published certain requirements of what companies should do in terms of cyber protection, because there was an increase in cyber terrorism. We had done an event around that some time back. Then there are various other advisories coming in. For example, SEBI has its own advisory, SEBI CSCRF advisory, which is there. We again did one event around that, and the focus is cyber terrorism, cyber threats. Then there is a IRDA memo for all insurance companies. So in addition to all these things which are focused around threats, there are also various compliances which are coming in. For example, I'm sure you all would have heard about the DPDP Act, which is almost anytime becoming a law in India, which will place a huge responsibility on compliance in various companies. Then there's the MSME Act, which is there. So when you combine threat protection, threats, cyber threats, and then you combine various compliances which are mandatory, what emerges is that having a comprehensive security and compliance solution becomes pretty much mandatory. But for small and mid-sized businesses, which is really a large chunk of companies operating in India, because in India there are enterprise companies, but compared to the number of enterprise companies, small and mid-sized businesses are much more, right? For them to invest in multiple tools for threat protection, identity, compliances, audits, it all makes the whole process very, very cumbersome, which is where there is this platform called as Microsoft 365 Business Premium. It's a super comprehensive platform for small and mid-sized businesses. Some of the companies have already adopted, but in customer after customer, when I talk to so many customers, I find that the deployment is in the range of 20 to 50%. So looking at that data, we decided let's do one event and then we'll do a follow-up to this event where we'll discuss how you can achieve security and compliance using one platform, right? So this session, today's discussion is relevant for customers who already have business premium, number one. Number two, or for customers who want to improve overall security and compliance, but are not too sure about the steps to be taken. So having set the context, let me welcome the guest speaker for today, right? Just let me bring him on the screen for all of you. Okay, welcome Amir. A warm welcome to this event for today. So a quick introduction to Amir. Amir is based out of Australia. So for Amir, this is pretty much towards the close of the working day. So thank you, Amir. I know it's not a great idea to do an event when you are kind of packing your bags to go, but because it is just 11 o'clock in India,
it's okay.
You don't have a choice, right? Okay, so Amir is a part of Microsoft Security Engineering, working with partners globally to help them succeed with Microsoft security solutions. He focuses on technical enablement to support partners in driving strong security outcomes while capturing insights and feedback to improve the products. Oh my God, there's a lot of English here. So Amir, can you use Copilot to translate it in 2-3 simple words, what all this means?
Its summary is just, I'm from a team who looking for insight and feedback about Microsoft security products, right? So that's a summary of my role. It's like we do all different type of engagement with partners. In the past, we were working also closely with customers. So it's like, I mean, again, it's still through to customers, through partners. And then we want to learn about how we can improve our products to work better for different segments like enterprise, SMB, SMC. Yeah, so that's it may not be summary of, it's not much summary, but if summary just is feedback insight.
Okay, great. Okay, so besides all this tech stuff which Amir just mentioned, some fun facts about Amir based on our research. Outside of his work, Amir has a hobby of photography, bird photography, architecture, and his nature. So I'm sure Australia will give you a lot of opportunities for all this, right? Because it's a country which has got fantastic landscapes. So I'm sure that would be a great place to build upon your hobby, right?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so that's Amir's introduction. Now let's move into the topic for today. Now here, what I want to first I will highlight before I start asking Amir the questions is that when you look at business premium, we should look at two aspects of business premium. One is the productivity and the collaboration aspect. Second is the security and the compliance aspect. So while everybody talks about the security, we are going to go deep into the security and the compliance aspect of business premium. However, I also want to take a couple of minutes here to highlight the fact that even for productivity and security, productivity and collaboration, business premium has got some really cool enhancements, which again, people are not using. So let me Amir, let me quickly go through that, and then I will probably,
Sure.
go deep into the discussions on the security and the compliance. First, let's take Exchange Online. Exchange Online, which people are using, usually comes with 50 GB of main mailbox, 50 GB of archive mailbox. That's the way people who are using Microsoft 365 Business Standard know. What you get with Business Premium is an additional Exchange Online archive. What that does is beautiful. It will uh, essentially help you with unlimited archive. That's number one. So literally, if you're set in the rules, for example, mailbox rules and in mail flow rules, maybe after 2 years, the mail should automatically move to archive folder, something like that. You will have your archive, which will go on expanding. So phenomenal, almost unlimited mailbox size. So that's a very big thing. Then you get stuff like in legal hold, in place hold, which again is very, very, very strong from the compliance perspective. For example, you could actually maintain a copy of the mail of the mailbox at the back end, so that whenever there's a compliance inquiry or whatever, even if a user accidentally or maliciously to delete certain data from their main mailbox, you have the in place hold in place. So that's again a super, super, super important feature available, which people should be using. Then is e-discovery. I mean, imagine using a keyword and then discovering based on the keyword information across various mailboxes. That again is a very strong feature. So Exchange Online is superb. Then SharePoint Online also has got stuff like legal hold, which again is very, very useful. Then you got enhanced Windows 11 for Business. Windows 11 for Business has got some more security features compared to your regular Windows 11 Pro. So that's something which I would urge people to consider. Then you have a remote client for Azure Virtual Desktop. For people who might not be aware, Microsoft has got a virtual desktop cloud PC offering called as Azure Virtual AVD, we call it in short. So there, when you use Windows Premium, when you use Business Premium, you get the virtual desktop built in, right? And finally, you got Office Shared Activation. So people who are using thin clients, for example, regular business standard MS Office does not work on that. But when you have Business Premium, because the MS Office bundled with Business Premium comes with Office Shared Activation, you are able to use that on your thin client. So having given certain data, which I would definitely want everyone to consider, people who have Business Premium, because these itself are super, super, super useful. Now let's move to security aspects. So Amir, now what, according to you, are the major areas in the area of security and compliance? If you can list them out first, where Business Premium can help in security and compliance.
Yep. Thanks, Suresh. When we talk about security, right, it's like I always refer to zero trust and then the pillars around zero trust, right? So when we talk about security, we want to cover identity, we want to cover device, application, and resources, right? These are the key 4 pillars. The fifth one, which is we can add to this later, is network, right? So now when we talk about these 4 pillars, which one is number 1 from my point of view is identity. So it's like you have a user, right? So let's break it down. Think of this. In any scenarios, you have a user who has an identity, and this user is using application on devices, which can be any platform, it can be Mac, Windows, iPhone, iOS, Android, or even Linux, right? And then the user with the identity with the application on the platform, what the user is doing, accessing resources, which can be Office 365, can be your SaaS applications. And so what happened for the user is like the user has identity, but this identity, how can be verified, validated, is going to be the identity platform. It's the IDP, and in this case is Entra, right? And when we talk about security, it's about how we can increase the security for this user to access the resources, right, from any device. So that's where we start. And
okay,
I covered 4 pillars, and the identity is the key part of it.
So now here's my question to you, Amir. My question is, in fact, it's not a question, it's an observation which I would like to make regarding identity and the importance of identity from the practical aspect. You know, in the good old days, we had a firewall,
Yep.
and people were in a office premises. Internet would come through the firewall, and you would set policies here. But
Yep.
now people are everywhere, right?
Yep.
So practically, it is not possible to, you know, have a firewall for people, but it is possible. How?
Yep.
So am I correct in saying that if we are intelligent enough, we can make our identity as our personal firewall so that it can travel with us wherever we go? You think it's a logical question, or I'm just wishful thinking?
So, I mean, so your question is about the traditional approach, which is a firewall, corporate network, and now the open environment where it's everything is in the cloud and user can be from anywhere, right? That's what you asking for. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah. So it's like before we were not maybe concerned. I mean, doesn't mean we shouldn't be, but again, we were not concerned. It's like the user come to office. The user is working on a device which is connected to the domain controller. It was Active Directory at that time, and then the user, sign into that Windows devices, which is part of the domain, and now access the resource, which is mainly file server, print server, and some applications, right? Now, even the Office 365, maybe before COVID, you were going to Office. This is changed. The world is not the same. So when we talk about resource is not anymore on-prem. Even you may not have even domain controller, and the device is not Windows anymore. The device is anything. And then we have a different type of device, like bring your own devices, right? We are open to bringing your personal phone to work and then check your email, use Teams call. That's where, I mean, this is going to be more critical, right? So it's like when we talk about zero trust means we are not going to trust anything. It's like we want to verify explicitly. So it's like, so every time you are accessing resource is going to be verified. And then we assume breach, right? Assume breach means what if the device is compromised, or what if the device is vulnerable, right? So think of that. So we want to also make sure cover that. So it's like when the three principle is like assume breach, all explicitly verify, and then least privilege. So this is the key, and that's where this cloud and the on-prem is going to be different. We never trust, right? That's the main difference in this era.
Okay, that's interesting. So, you know, in a real world scenario, we say, trust me, trust me. Okay, we keep telling, trust me. But when you move from real world to virtual world, no, don't trust. First of all, I don't trust you. So please verify who you are, number one. Okay. And you want something. Okay. If you want something, what is the minimum role I can give you? So which is very important for people in the call here to understand. Again, this is an issue which I've seen with customers, that there are like 10 global admins in a tenant, customer tenant, right? No, don't do that. If somebody wants a certain admin rights, maybe for exchange admin rights for 2 hours, don't make him a global admin forever. Have a process by which give him that exchange admin for 2 hours, and then you withdraw that, right? So zero trust. Okay, assume breach. Again, that's a very good concept which you shared, Amir, that you have to assume that there's a breach and then accordingly plan your things accordingly. Great. So we have covered the identity part. What is the next important part according to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to weigh and say this one is more important than the other one.
No. I'm talking
easy for me, right?
You go. We are discussing, right? So you mentioned identity. I understand, because first step is identify yourself. Okay. Now what?
Yeah. Yeah, identity comes first, and now think of like what's important to you. It's like we mentioned assume breach, for example, right? When we say assume breach, where the breach is happening, we're talking about the device the user is using, right? So when we talk about that, so now we want to make sure we cover the device in our journey, security journey to get into the security. So how we can do that? Again, there are multiple ways to make sure the device is healthy, there is no breach on the device. That's where, if you want to go back to the business premium, we are talking about Intune and Defender, because like Intune can manage the device, make sure the device is healthy, and then also Intune can get signals from Defender, for example, to make sure device is not vulnerable or there is no active threat on the device. So that also is like the next step. Maybe you want to look at device, make sure your device is part of that zero trust and that assumed breach is covered, right? You already mentioned about the privilege roles or least privilege, and that was, you mentioned about we don't need 10 definitely. So think of this: whoever today here has challenge says, oh, I have more than 5 admin, I tell if Microsoft with this size can run with less than 5 global admin, or I can say it's 2, then anyone can do that, right? So we are less than 5 global admin, so you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's very important. We are talking about zero trust as the foundation of everything. There we said we need to ensure that identity, that means people who say that they are this, they should be that. So, we are kind of saying explicit, verify explicitly from the identity. So after the identity piece, you have mentioned that managing devices. Believe me, I know of companies with 300, 400, 500 devices. They have no idea of the devices accessing the data. And I'm fully with you on this, that it's a very dangerous aspect. It's very important that we should understand the devices which are accessing the corporate data. So device management becomes super, super, super important. And it's something which is missed out by so many people, right? By the way, I have been talking to some of the customers of Business Premium who are not doing device management. I mean, that's a surprise because they say, no, we have not tried it. We really don't know what it can do. Well, to me, device management is a phenomenal thing. In fact, Amir, if you could want to talk about, uh, life cycle management probably can be done, right? With Intune and things like that.
Yep.
So if you can just talk a couple of minutes on life cycle management of a device, that will be great.
Yep, sure. So think of this. Why the device is important? It's like, so think of this: you have the strongest policy in place for the user to sign into your environment, to your tenant, to access the data, right? I mean, of course, the data or resource is the critical piece of all of this. We are implementing zero trust to make sure the right user accessing the data, right? So it's about, I'm talking about emails, I'm talking about files, confidential documents. So it's all about this. Now, you say, while device is important, but I make sure my user is doing the strongest MFA. They do FIDO2 key. They do, always do MFA to access. So, okay, yes, your user is doing MFA to access, but now, if the user is using unprotected device or home PC, right? This device, if someone is get the token, the token is stolen from that device and replayed from somewhere else, that attacker actually using your MFA from another device, right? From another location. So by just having a strong MFA, you are not actually covering that whole security requirement to access, protect your data access, because MFA is not enough. I can use my home PC. I can connect my FIDO2 key to my home PC if Microsoft allows, and then access the work data or the resources at work. But what if I have the session saved on my machine and then my wife, my son's going to use my home PC because I forgot, or I just said, I trust it, but Microsoft has the MFA in place for me, has maybe even I'm using FIDO2 or passwordless or phish resistant MFA, but they are not allowing me to use my work PC. They allow me, but if I enroll my device, so that means they can see my device is protected, my device has no vulnerability, and if it's clean, it goes there. And I want to just add also this one to the conversations that you had about the device management and Intune. When we talk about device management and when we talk about Intune, don't worry about the comments. You may say, oh, I don't want to manage devices. I don't have the application deployment. I don't have this and that. Or I don't have the Wi-Fi deployment. It's okay. When you want when we talk about Intune and device management, think of having the device under enrollment. If you don't have any policy to deploy to the device today, it's okay. If you don't have any configuration, any application, anything to the device, just enroll it. Because when you enroll it, you can mark the device as a compliant device and then control it through identity, right? Later, when you need, you add your policy. And from the lifecycle perspective, think of the device if based on the device is corporate owned or personal device, you can have the onboarding, offboarding, wiping the device. Of course, personal device is going to be different from corporate owned devices, and you have all of this in place. You can save, provisioning time of the device, even like, for example, in Intune and Autopilot, you can have the Windows device shipped to the user's home address, and then they turn it on, device is ready with all the configuration, right? So we will talk more on when I'm doing demo, but this is this covers actually that part.
Fine. So we have covered identity, we have covered device. Now two more to go.
Yeah.
Top 4. We may be looking at top 3 or 4 from your perspective. Yeah.
Now data. It's again, don't look at it as an order. Data is critical. Data is a critical piece because you are coming to work back home to generate more data. Every day you are receiving files, you're receiving email, you are generating, maybe having some project documents, you have confidential documents, you have contracts, you have a lot of personal information of your customers, partners there. And this is all happening. It's all about data. Now, we said identity, we said device, because that identity and the device being used to access those data, right? Here is how you're going to protect it, right? How you are classifying your data. So how you're protecting to make sure data is not intentionally or unintentionally shared with someone who shouldn't have access, right? So that's the next part, which is from the business premium perspective, that's where Purview comes in to help you with your data protection, right? So there are multiple components there, and I can talk about some of it today. And even with business premium, you can have some policy in place to make sure you have some protection in place. You may not have full DLP policy there, but there is enough to start and then protect your data, especially today where we have AI, right? Think of yesterday I was reading in the news, one in Australia shared people impacted by flood in Australia to the ChatGPT, uploaded all the documents, and they were concerned if there is a data leak happening or not, because someone just maybe you want to summarize a document and upload the documents to ChatGPT or public DeepSeek or somewhere where you shouldn't, and then so it's all on the news. Someone did that, right? So that's, again, it's about protecting your data, and the Purview is critical piece. Okay. Whatever solution you're using, remember, protecting data is critical.
So fine. So we have covered identity, we have covered device management, and we have also spoken about data protection. Anything else you want to take up?
Yeah, I mean, if I want to look at from the business premium perspective, again, it's like we have, of course, a lot of things covered under the data. Like, for example, we talk about exchange, so mail flow is critical. Again, it's of course we have when I talked about Defender, the Defender first was about endpoints, but we are not just talking about endpoint, right? Defender is about Defender for Office, Defender for IoT, Defender for cloud, Defender for cloud apps. So we have multiple layer of multiple Defender, which all actually share the signal inside Microsoft XDR or Defender portal, where you get visibility into what's going on. If there is attacks happening, you get full visibility because we can share the signal in one portal, and then you can see that. So yeah, just want to again add that Defender is not just endpoints, but I refer to endpoints.
Right. So great. So what we are, there are a lot of things possible. However, if we just focus on these 4 pillars of identity, device management, threat protection, and data protection, I think to a large extent we would ensure that we are taking care, right? In fact, interesting point you mentioned about this AI and ChatGPT and stuff like that. So here is my take. We're not going to go very deep into that topic here, but for people on the call, just to share with you, very soon on 14th October, to be more precise, at 3:30 p.m., we are doing one event on AI security and compliance. So our team will reach out to you. And so if you want to know more details about deployment of AI within your company with guardrails, with security, with compliance, do make it a point to attend the workshop at 3:30 p.m. on 14th of October. Right. So, Amit, that was great discussions around these 4 points, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? So it will be great for us to actually see these few of these 4 things which we just spoke of. So you think we can dive into some demos and see for ourselves business premium where what is available? I mean, it'll be great to have that so that people can actually know that, okay, listen, we heard and we saw, right?
Yep.
So that's a part. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can share my screen and then actually talk a bit more about this and then go through, it's when I say demo, of course, we can't do demo of full business premium in like short time, but I try to show this, focus on that zero trust and see how we connect the dots by different products.
Perfect.
Okay, let me now share my screen and please let me know if, let me just put there.
And attendees on the call, please use the Q&A for questions. And so if there are any questions, please post your questions so that we can take it up as and when we can, please. Thank you.
Okay, just one on each. Okay, now let's just go and do this. Hopefully you can see my screen. Is it?
It's coming. Yeah, now we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is what I just covered, right? So it's like, think of, before I do the demo, why don't I show just one page to show what I was talking about. So here we have all the signals about device, location, risk, apps, and data, and identity. And then we have the engine here, which is our conditional access identity check. And then on the right side, we have all the resources, which can be your SaaS apps, Office 365, and all the resources going to be user by user. Okay, so I'm going to actually show you in the UI or the demo to see how these are connected together and how we can actually check where we are today. And also, it's one thing is important is actually, let me say this screen, just let me switch this one because I know this screen I'm sharing is the largest screen. I'm worried about the size of when I do the demo from this screen, usually people complain about it's small. Just give me a second. I switch to this one. Here, this looks better. Sorry about that. Just okay. I'm sharing again.
Yeah.
Hopefully this thing is better because that one is very large monitor, and then I'm worried about, it's going to be.
This looks better, definitely. First impression.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's just so where we start. So you can always start with a security posture manager. So posture is like what is your score? Because think of this, when I talk about business premium, when we talk about Defender, I mentioned about all different products on the Defender, right? And I'm not expert on Defender, and my maybe maybe we don't have one single person has access, knows about everything in today world, right? So but it's good to know where to start. Even if I don't know, for example, what's the best way of deploying one product, if I don't know how to start. I go to our the security portal. So we have, we talked about Entra. So when we talk about Entra, let's do this. This is Entra, entra.microsoft.com. This is our identity platform, right? This is where you go for
identity, right?
Identity. Now, we talked about, so just leave it there. I come back to this. Let's just open. Okay, while waiting for this, let's just go. This is, I already had actually this one here open, but anyway. Security.microsoft.com is where we are all about Defender and Sentinel, all Microsoft security products. There is all added here, and then we have Purview, which is our data.
Okay, so purview.microsoft.com would be the place to go to for data protection. Security.microsoft.com would be the place to go for all threat protection related stuff, right? And finally, you also spoke about entra.microsoft.com, which would be a place to go for managing all the identities, right?
Yes,
great.
And aka.ms Intune for our device management. So it's like, so this is the main area you want to go for different products, right? Different feature set or covering whole zero trust. Now, here, if you go to security, let's say start with security portal. Here you can have, you get visibility into quickly where you are from, it's quick overview of what's going on, what devices maybe have vulnerability, what's going based on, again, if you have deployed it, right? It's like, for example, if you have the device onboarded. But even if you don't do anything, you can always start here, Microsoft Security Score, right? Maybe you want to start here. So this is demo environment. Of course, 46.88, 46.84 is not a great score, right? And if I go there, it tells me my identity is 37.39, my data is 8889, and then I have a device 4872, and then I have application 4898, right? So quick overview of what's going on. You also shows the history, how my score went up and down, right? And if I want to see how can I improve it, let's just minimize this side. How can I improve it? And what you can do, you can go to recommended action, and then you can filter by product. Let's say, for example, I say, I'm good with Intune, for example. I'm good with this and that, but I want to see actually what is the recommendation here for Defender for Office. I have no idea what should I do. You just go select Defender for Office, and it gives you all the recommendation and what is your points achieved. Right, so it means if I just go do this, I get 8 points. And then how can I do this? It shows their implementation guide, how to do it, all what you need, what license you need. Sometimes you may say, okay, I'm business premium, I don't have P2, so I want to skip this one. And then you can actually go and then check here and then say plan, risk accepted, all those you can have. If you are managing your environment, you want to have some sort of history data there for what reason you haven't implemented, you can do it. So, but what I'm trying to say is like start with secure score, right? And then when, as I showed you, you can just go there, and then how you want to work on an identity, just go and then select Microsoft Entra, and then look at that. If you want to look at Intune, just go Intune and then look at it. Exchange Online, Exchange Online. So it's like multiple different way, but get the recommendation. Or you may say, I don't want to have any filter. I want to just go here and then sort by highest one. And then this is if I just do this, turn on Microsoft Defender for endpoint sensor, then it's getting just 10 out of 10, right? Like that. Anyway, so this is starting points. Now, we mentioned about zero trust start with identity, protect identity of the user. How we do that? So it's like that slide, that one pager I showed you was, there was an engine where you say, based on this condition, do this or access. And that's conditional access. It's part of Entra ID P1, which is included in Business Premium. When you go to Entra, just want to show you one actually thing here. Here you can see, it's just, you should have actually, yeah, you see, there is in Entra portal also with identity secret score. This is just covering the Entra ID, right? So you can see, but this is also visible there too. And then it shows you what license, but I just want to show you, if you just start with Entra, you can still go here and then see what recommendation is. On the overview page of Entra, I can see which license my tenant is on, but for what I'm showing you now, you don't need P2. Again, we don't have time to go through all the benefits of P2. But for example, when we talk about risk, we bring P2 conversation, but let's forget about P2 now, just focus on what's available. In the conditional access, which is the zero trust engine, I call it, you can see multiple policy. And in the policy, this is where you want to, simple word, when you want to force MFA, which is the simple way, if you start with doing something here, usually you set the MFA, right? But MFA is just one part. Let me show you what's there. It's like how it works. Again, what's the best practices, what policy you create. I can show you today. You just go one click, maybe you can set up all those policy. But what is here? You can have the user, you say who is going to be targeted for this policy, and then who is going to be excluded. In exclusion, you may want to have, if, for example, if you have hybrid tenants and you have and connect sync, you may want to have the sync user, for example, excluded, right? If I don't have sync user, it may not show here. I don't have sync user. You can have that excluded. But if you have break glass accounts, you may want to exclude break glass accounts, right? But that's how you can include and exclude. So even if you want to test something, you can add just one user there. And then you can also have some policy may not apply to the guest. So you may want to consider that, okay, am I going to target this to the guest users or B2B users or not? But don't worry about it, because there is a wizard, there is a template, you can use that one too. When I do that, when I set up who I'm targeting from the user perspective, so which identity I'm targeting, I can go and then says which resource. Resource, if you remember, said on the left side, it was about all those signals, which including device, ID, user, and groups. On the right side was the resource, which was Office 365, Exchange, SharePoint, Salesforce, ServiceNow, anything. So here you can go and then select resource. You see all the application. For example, if you want to just target Office 365, you have Office 365, which include all those Office applications, including Exchange, SharePoint, Yammer, Office, Teams, Forms, all there. I'm just giving you example. I'm not giving you this how you do it, because how you do it, I'm showing you the best practice later. And there are more than this into the Entra. I don't want to go that far, but just want to quickly show you other options. User action, odd context. There are a lot of advanced scenario here you can use. Like user action is who can register. Where can I register my MFA? If I'm sharing password with the user over, let's say, personal email or SMS, and someone get the password before the user, and then they can go, register MFA. What if someone else registered for MFA? I mean, I'm not saying do this or that, but just think about it, right? So if the user wants to register from unmanaged device, register from unmanaged or untrusted network, then you can have the policy on user action. And odd context is like, what if the user wants, you want to have like, the user is okay, do MFA access everything, SharePoint access is okay through MFA, but what if I want to have stricter requirement for highly confidential SharePoint sites? I want to treat highly confidential SharePoint sites different from normal SharePoint sites. In that case, you see there are, again, odd contexts where you can go further. I'm not going to break it down, go detailed, but I just want to give you, there is more than just resource in the conditional access. Okay, we go here, and then let's say I do all resources, everything, and global secret access is for web firewall. Or you can have like, it's like our global secret access is not included in BP, so I skip it for now. And now you can have a net. Okay, let me just select it all, and then I go to network. You can define, are we talking about any location, not corporate network, anywhere, country? You can go here, and then you can have location based on country, based on GPS location, based on compliant network, non-compliant network. There are multiple ways of doing this, but remember, don't use this for excluding your users to not do MFA when they are in the office. I see that is still happening. And remember, we say assume breach, verify explicitly. Don't trust. Don't say because the user is in the office, they don't need to do MFA. Why? Because if the user do MFA and then go out of office and then go back to office, it's not going to be another MFA. And as the user do one MFA at least. So make sure you use this properly. Okay, let's just go here, and then you don't configure it. And then on the condition, you have a lot of options there. You say user risk, sign-in risk. If the user has the credential leaked on dark web, for example. Insider risk coming from the data. So if the insider risk is, again, is not part of business premium, but just the integration between data security and identity. Think of, you have a user termination happening in 7 days. User is going to be leaving company, and then the user is exporting a lot of files to the USB or sending a lot of, you see some activity which doesn't look like normal from the usage of the data for that user. So the insider risk in the purview can tag the user as a risky for data, right? And then you can say if the user is risky from data, right? And then you can take action. Let's say, for example, in this case, you want to say if the user has risk from the data security perspective, block users access to Office 365, right? You can do that. So that's, again, signal sharing between different products. Device platform. Do you want to have different policy based on platform? Because as I said, in Zero Trust, you want to have maybe a different policy based on the device type the user is using. So here you can say iOS, Android, Windows, different. Say, for example, you may not want to have bring your own devices for Windows or bring your own devices at all, right? So that's where you can decide about which platform you are targeting. Location is similar to network, and then client application. One of the, again, another pillar on the Zero Trust was apps. The user is using browser, using the legacy application, using the modern application, right? So you can have the policy based on that. And then some devices may want to be excluded. For example, Teams devices, which is not used by user, but there may be some devices use some identity, but that identity is not actually user identity. So you can have separate policy for that. And Outflow, let's skip this one. And then it's about how app is going to connect on behalf user, allow the app to sign in, like setting up Teams, for example, on the Surface device, or or TV, for example. You want to add something that's about that. So that's why I'm skipping that. It's not coming here. So we said all the condition, right? How now we can tell if that assume breach, where this come from, how we can use it again in the conditional access, bring that assume breach. So what we said is we want to make sure device is healthy or device is compliant, right? This is just one checkbox. When you check this, you are asking a user to use compliant device. And how this device can be compliant, the only way you can make the device compliant is have the device enroll into Intune. So that's why even if you don't want to manage the device, make sure the device is enrolled so you can set the compliance, right? That's the critical piece. So by this, even if the user using the home PC, they have to enroll to make sure the device is managed by the company. Sometimes you may not want to have the user on the mobile device to access the data. Sorry, if the user trying to access data from the mobile device, you may not want the full management, so you don't want the compliance, but you want to have app protection policy. This is even for the BYOD devices. Okay, even if on your mobile device you don't want to enroll, you need to make sure your application is protected. So you need to use protected app. If you have protected app means, for example, again, from Intune, you can manage the application on the device without enrolling. So it's like I can use OneDrive at my phone to access SharePoint's data, but I cannot copy paste into my iCloud or through WhatsApp or through Telegram, through anything, right? So that's block can be happen.
Amir, a quick question. Amir, a quick question while you are on this. So as we all know, that Windows 7 is end of life now, right?
Yeah.
So is it possible to use some setting here and say that anybody trying to use Windows 7 as an operating system should not be allowed into the network? Something like that is possible?
Yeah. So when you do this, you are actually blocking Windows 7 because Windows 7 cannot be enrolled.
Right. Because the idea is that, with Windows 7 being end of life, very clearly there are going to be security holes in the operating system. But and for those users, they automatically become high risk users. So can I say that, okay, Windows 7, no access, so that, automatically people will know that, okay, they have to do something about it. So that was just a thought.
Yeah, so you are not telling the version of Windows, you are telling if the device is not compliant. And who decide about the compliance is not Entra. The decision on the device not compliant is Intune. And I show you how you can do it there. Right? So it's all about what all you're doing in this screen is about you are asking for signals from Intune.
Okay.
Right? And if you, again, as I said, device app protection is for the scenario where you don't want to have the device to be enrolled, but app to be protected. So that means you still care about your data, but even if the user, you want to make it more open to the end users to use, for example, mobile devices or use Edge on Windows to access, but same time, the data is protected. Okay, so now you go here, of course, if you want to do MFA, you add MFA. You may not want to combine everything into one, but if you want to do MFA, you do MFA. And then if you want to have phish resistant MFA, you can go here and then you define a stronger type of MFA, right? For example, you may say admin has to do phish resistant, but the end user can just do any MFA. And then, of course, there are some best practices, like you don't want to make sure maybe user use SMS. SMS is not a secure MFA method. It's better than password itself, but again, preferably you want to use switch to authentication or passkey and make it stronger. You can run the policy in a report only mode or just turn it on, and then there are again more here. You can also go to the session control. This is where if the user, for example, you can want to say if the user is on home PC, for example, you in the condition you say device is not compliant. So that's why I want to persist browser session to never. Like what it does is like if I'm using logging into Exchange Online from my home PC, if you want to allow it, at least never persist. Don't let the user persist browser session. So it means if the browser is closed and open and my son come back to that, is not be able to access them if I forget. Because sometimes it's just how you quickly press on yes, and then it save it and then done. But this is blocking that. There are other options here, signing frequency, but again, just let's I'm going to skip those because we don't have time to cover all. Now, how actually you can create the conditional access? So if you go to conditional access here under my policy, I have a lot of policies created. And what you can do, I show you another portal. This portal is familiar to all of you, admin.microsoft.com, right? This is where actually you manage your Office 365. When you go here, under setup, should be loading. There is a deploy conditional access policy, this one. So when you click on this, and then let's get started. Here, what you do, even if you have any policy there, you can go there and then maybe you want to start. I recommend this one, Zero Trust. Click on this, and you can see review. It shows all the policies going to be created. Now, if you go to next, you have the list. You can decide which one to be included, which one not, right? And then you can decide which one to be on or off, like that. So you can select, and then whatever you select here is going to be automatically created for you. Ready. You want to have in report only mode, report only mode on, right? That's it. So that's how you do it. Okay, I close this one. So far, our Entra Zero Trust Control is there. Of course, Entra is not just for this. Entra is for about app registration, app integration, a lot of other stuff there. User governance is there, right? But our focus is about protecting the user. If I go to Intune now, this is Intune, right? I mentioned about how we want to make sure that we get the device signal, and for the Intune, if I quickly show you the components in Intune, think of like few pillars here. One is like device itself, and when we talk about device itself, we talk about which platform, and then we talk about configuration of device, compliance of the device, and the application on the device. Think of three main pillars, like what configuration I need, what is the compliance state, how we can define the device is compliant or not. That's the compliance policy. And then application on the device. With the application, of course, we have app deployment, app configuration, app protection. Goes further. But these three are the critical piece: configuration, compliance, and applications, right? And of course, the device itself. The device itself means we have which device is allowed to be enrolled, which device is not allowed, what the BYD is allowed, not allowed, all can be configured here. And then you can define device limit. You can say what type of onboarding you have, because you should think about how you are going to bring device into Intune. For example, if you have a corporate owned, you can have, let's say, Apple Business Enrollment or program, or the Google Zero Touch program, or Samsung Knox, still if it's there. So what happens is you send the device or give the device to the user turn it on out of the box, and then as soon as connect to Wi-Fi, it says, oh, this is for Tech Giant, and then they have to sign in with that Entra ID accounts to get the device ready. You don't need to touch anything. The user doesn't have to do, just need to sign in with the Entra ID account. That's it. Now, here you see device configuration and compliance, these two parts. These two are the critical piece. So if I want to start look at Intune, I start with these two, right? After, of course, have my enrollment done. So you need some preparation. For example, for Google device to be onboarded, you need to have managed Google Play integration. For iOS, you need to have Apple certificate, which is free. You just get it there and then you set it up. There are some guidance there, easy to do that. But of course, your Intune should be prepared for that. And when you go there and then, let's say, even if you don't want to do any configuration, you go to compliance. And let me show you just something here. Because I said Entra get the signal from Intune, right? How? This is where I go to, let's say I go to Windows here, select Windows 10 and Windows 10 compliance policy, create. Okay, so device health. What is the device health? BitLocker has to be enabled or not. So think of like, but you just create a compliance policy and says device property. Let's just go there. Minimum OS version. I need my minimum OS version to be 10.0.254.8769, for example. I don't know what version is going to be, just typed it, but think of 24 Windows 11, 24H2, 24H1 is the minimum you allow, right? So if someone using anything older than that is going to be non-compliant. What happens if the device is non-compliant? Nothing happens unless you go to Intune and say, I need require compliance, and then if the device is before 24H2, is going to be blocked, right? So that's how it works. You define the compliance here and then assign to which device target, because again, when you create it, you say who, because you don't have to worry about impacting anything, because you can test it with one user. You can test it with one device. That's the beauty. So you don't have to worry. Of course, even if you apply to all users and all the devices become non-compliant, don't be scared. All the devices are non-compliant. As long as you have conditional access to block non-compliant device, you are not going to be impacted, right? And so one more thing. I said, assume breach. How I can use breach data here. So Intune is about management and then compliance of the device or application management of the device. Now, the device is risky from the breach is a vulnerability or a virus is running on it. It is coming from Defender, right? Defender share the signal. And this is where I can say, I want the device to be clear by Defender for endpoints as clear. Or Defender for endpoints should say at least the device is at low level to make sure it's compliant. So now if I say device has to be at clear, means if Defender for endpoints says device has some risk, Intune says, oh, as per Defender, this device is not compliant, so I mark it not compliant, so Entra is going to block. So think of how signal come from Defender for endpoints to Intune and goes to Entra. So full control from Defender. And all of this is in Business Premium, right? So you don't need any other license because Defender for MDB is there, Defender for Business, Intune is there, and then you get all of this. Okay, so any question, Suresh here?
Yeah. So here now okay, so it's pretty obvious that, okay, we can put the versions of the data here. Now, one of the things which is there is that, one question which keeps coming about is that people say, why should I enroll my personal device? Because the fear is that if I enroll my personal device, then the company gets everything, they see everything. So is there something, how should the companies address the queries of the people? Because you want to give access to the personal devices for flexibility purposes. B, you want to assure them that, look, I'm not looking at your data. So how do you address that issue?
Yeah, so, I mean, we have actually technical documents there explain what is visible, what is not. And then definitely the personal data is not visible to the company. And so in some scenarios, for example, if you are using Defender for endpoints, right, for blocking certain websites, so we are not monitoring the websites, but if something blocked because of detection of the malware is going to be reported or recorded only in the malware scenario in the Defender for endpoints. So that's the only where you may see, okay, this website been recorded because of malware detected there. Other than that, we don't see anything. We don't see that. I mean, even the iOS, let's say, for example, if you enroll the device, even doesn't need even Microsoft say anything. Apple is going to tell by enrolling, this is what is visible to the company. And that's what you see there is more about, okay, device state, device version, this data is not showing about what data is on the device, what's the usage pattern of the user on the device. You get maybe app inventory for if the app is blocked. If there is, you say the user shouldn't have this app and the user have that, that is going to be reported as detected. The app detection can work. And if that's the concern, think of it's a balance between what you as a company going to offer to your users and what the user wants from the productivity and using. You say, okay, if you don't want to bring your own devices, it's okay. But if you want to access the corporate Wi-Fi, it's only available through Intune push. So if you want to get Wi-Fi, if you want to get VPN, you need to do Intune. If not, you can't, right? But if you want to just use Teams, we'll let you access, but we have app protection in place. App protection means you don't need to enroll, but the device is going to be just registered. In that case, there is nothing from the device management perspective, but you as IT can have to make sure the user is using protected apps, right? For example, now we say, okay, you can access email, but app is protected. That means you cannot use Mail app on iPhone. You cannot use Gmail app on Android. You need to use Outlook on phone. And that way I can protect my data and also make sure your device is not jailbroken. Okay. So that control is still there, but no management. So no visibility at all.
Amir, I think your screen is frozen. So
I'm in Intune device compliance. So it's like it's not showing anything.
Yeah, now, yeah. Okay, fine. We secure manage access. The screen is shown, but your video, your personal video seems to be frozen. That's okay.
Okay, I can. Okay, yeah, I do.
Okay, so what we are seeing here is that when you combine Intune with Entra and conditional access, that's when you really get top of the line management stuff. I mean, that's what is the basic understanding which we should carry with us for now, essentially. Right. Great. So, I mean, now, is there anything in demos, anything else is there, or we could just have a final discussion on one or two other points which are coming up, essentially? Okay, so I think Amir's screen is frozen. While Amir comes back, there are a couple of other points which are there. We have done we mentioned that there are compliances from SEBI, compliances from IRDA. We mentioned all those things, right? So let's talk of SEBI compliances. We did one event around SEBI compliances some time back. So there, SEBI has specified for stockbrokers and mutual funds and those kind of the range of companies which are monitored and regulated by SEBI. They mentioned a very detailed document on identity controls, endpoint protection, email security, data loss prevention. The good news is that all these multiple layers of SEBI compliances can all be taken care through Business Premium. So, there are certain level of SEBI entities, we call it REs, regulated entities, which are there. For the smaller SEBI entities, if you just take Business Premium, pretty much the whole SEBI compliance can be taken care of. Now, then there is Secure Score, which and built-in reporting, which meets the CERT in 6-hour incident reporting. So SEBI also has its 6-hour incident reporting requirement, which again can be met very, very effectively. Look at IRDA. IRDA is Insurance Regulatory Authority of India, right? There you have role-based access as a requirement. You have data classification as a requirement, and you have BYOD as a requirement. So when you have all these things coming into picture, you have everything taken care of, and incident response as a requirement. So again, for IRDA compliance, Business Premium is a great platform to take care of. Yes, Amit, welcome back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. I just tried to do video and then
not a problem. So I used that interim period to mention about how Business Premium can take care of the compliances which are listed by SEBI, Stock Exchange Authority, as well as by IRD, Insurance Regulatory Authority. So I mentioned that aspect. So now, so if you are looking at finally before closing, if you look at let's say a 150 user non-banking financial institution who wants to improve the secure score by let's say 30 points in 45 days and pass the audit without extra tools, how do you think Business Premium can help them? Maybe I can also put in, because that's something which is a customer use case where probably we also would have. But from your perspective, how would Business Premium create impact for a regulated entity like that?
Okay, so when we talk about compliance and then regulations, right? So it's like we need the compliance where it's not in Business Premium. What you can always use is like, let's say you want to roll out BP, and I said, you start with the posture management or a score, right? You go to a score, you get a lot of recommendation. But what you can also do is like, we recommend, even if you don't want, even let's say, Purview has some capability, which is good to enable when you have Business Premium, and some of these going to be part of E5. So we can always actually enable for 90 days trial. I think it's 90 days, that compliance. And then you can actually do the evaluation, right? And then see where you are, and then you don't have to renew. But it's like, at least you get that initial assessment. And you can see actually if it adds value. So it's like, while you do the Purview, you can actually enable it and then get a lot of insights. And then also you can do the cover your compliance, because I see, for example, you want to ISO 27001, for example, or 42, I forgot the AI one. So you want to do assessment, it's there, and then you can do the assessment to see where you are, right? And but yeah, it's like by just Business Premium itself, we don't have that compliance part. But again, secure score, make sure you have that coverage. By increasing your score, you may already have a coverage of a lot of compliance requirements.
Right.
But yes, compliance as a trial, I highly recommend to use it.
So we have put in, our team has put in some chats, case studies also, where by upgrading to Business Premium, the companies were able to, push up their secure score substantially. So I think the starting point should be to look at the secure score. Once you look at the secure score, then, it gives you guidances and recommendations on what to do essentially, right? Swami, do you want to add something?
Secure score, secure score is, I highly recommend to look at, because at the end of the day, you want to follow some recommendation to enable some capability there available to you. And that is like making your environment protected, which is most of those compliance actually have regulations for you, right? To enable that. But if you want to see, compare it, or it's like if you pass, for example, that compliance, that's where you need the compliance, which is part of E5. But you can maybe try that in your tenant. I'm not sure, it's like, if you have time to quickly talk about the Purview, or you want to scoop it.
No, I think what we'll do is that if we have last 5 minutes available, so till that time, while you are showing it up, our team will post the feedback form in the chat. Request all of you to please fill up the feedback form. One of the questions there is about Microsoft funded security assessment. So people who want to take it up can suggest that, okay, we would be interested in detailed security assessment, where we will in a very, very safe manner, Microsoft guided manner, check out the threat perception, the Purview stuff and all those things, and give you a detailed report at no cost to you. So that we are just posting the the feedback form here. Request all of you to do that. And me. So last 5 minutes. So you could probably take up the last 5 minutes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So now I go to the Purview portal. On the Defender part, I mean, again, we just want to, before Purview, just remember when we went here. So this home screen is giving you a lot of insights, right? Check it. But what we covered in this page was a score, right? Remember, there is much more here you can check. Now let's go to Purview. So when I go to Purview, let's just view all solutions. There is a lot of capability built into this, and if you want to, see actually what's we have some guide and best practice deployment blueprint, and you can of course you can reach out and then get those. But for today, what we are, especially for the business premium. So what you see here, a lot of products, but the key part of the Purview is about, everything starts with classification, right? Know your data. It's like when you go to Purview portal, and let's say you go to information protection in this part, or you can just go here, all solution information protection, or you can just go to solutions, and from solutions you can go and have information protection. Where is information protection? Okay, I just use this one. I don't know. I have to explore all and then see that. Okay, so this is information protection. My tenant is not showing all for some reason. Let me see. Oh, sorry, I'm in data security investigation, not the. Let's just go there. I need to go information protection where I was. This one. Why my portal is putting up? Data loss prevention. Okay, I'm actually the right place. For some reason, it's weird because I don't know why my portal something. Let me just refresh. This is not the first time this happened to me. Yeah, it's just refreshed and it's showed. So when you go here, it's first you can go to Explorer, and then in Explorer you can go to Data Explorer. This usually give you about the visibility to actually what type of information you have in your cloud. You don't have to do anything. It's just there says you have maybe this info type in your OneDrive, in SharePoint, in Teams, like that. So think of like documents with credit card information, documents with personal information or passport information, something like that. So this is usually, it's there. So if you go there, you should see that, right? So this is just think of like know your data. And if you don't have any, in the Purview, first of all, it's like it goes to based on the sensitive info type, built-in sensitive info type, like credit card or financial info, personal information. There are a lot of info, sensitive info type there, and we can detect in the documents and communications. But if you have any specifics, for example, I have project ABC, project Obsidian, and then you want to have any documents refer to that project, you want to define it as sensitive type, you can do it. Or there is a tax form by my Indian government, and you want to have that tax form as a fingerprinted, and then says this form is having this form filled or unfilled is going to be sensitive type, right? You can do that. So it's like, so think of sensitive info, defining your sensitive info type, or if you don't know what info type to have, you just go to whatever is available, financial. But what this is good for is about where you have the data, which can be maybe important for your business, right? And now the next part is sensitive label. This is the most critical piece, I say, in the Purview deployment. What happens is you say, at the end of the day, if this email I'm sending is confidential or if not. Is it personal? Is it public? Is it confidential? Is the Word document, Excel documents, everything in that SharePoint documents, right? Is it like, what is that? Is it confidential or not? So what happen here, you go there and then say define sensitive label. So it's like we have the taxonomy there. This is usually what you see in the recommendation. In the confidential, you have different, and then in highly confidential, you can define the label. And now if I go to, let me just go to Office. I just give you 2 minutes here and then show you this, because of course, each of this is going to be at least 1 hour session, right? I'm just quickly showing you. Actually, let me just go to Word. Yeah, it's more about showing you how easily you can, just by this part I just showed you, you can apply some protection. Now, if I go and then create, let's say, new documents. When you have any new documents, and then you can do tag it. Think of like tagging. This is now labeled as confidential all employees. Now, there are capability in Intune which can, if in the, let's say, in scenario where no longer, let me incorrect. A scenario like, for example, this is again, we don't have in the business premium, but again, it's just think of when I type something which is can define a policy. So this automatically, I think, is applied the label. It's still not, so it's automatically applied, you see. So you can have the auto label policies on the P2, but even if you don't have it, what you can do, but why I showed you this, think of, you define the label in Purview, and then for the label policy, you can say every user who create a Word document or Office documents by default is going to be confidential. So it means by default, every document created today is going to be confidential. And then in the mail flow, DLP flow for Exchange, you can say the confidential document cannot be shared externally, right? Easy. You can do it now with Business Premium and then have something in place. So if the document can be shared publicly, they have to remove the label, and then they can, this all going to be logged, right? And then if you want to also have highly confidential, protecting the document, even it's copied to USB, shared with someone, no one be able to open it, you can do it even with the Business Premium. You can apply label which support encryption, like protection, and then that protected documents is going to be protected wherever it is, regardless of shared online, through USB, offline access, whatever, right? It's going to be there. So there is a lot in Purview, but it's start with sensitive info type and the label. And the label is where you decide, okay, if the file has this label, right? Shared through WhatsApp, blocked. Shared through Telegram, blocked. You want to copy to USB, block. So all the policy later you define in DLP is to use the label or sensitive info type to make a decision, right? Okay, this is for today. And again, here is a lot of other stuff there, even like, remember in the conditional access, we talked about the data, user risk from the data perspective, all is going to be here, you define here, and again, there is a signal sharing in identity. Sorry, I had to go through a lot of different content. It's just in a short period of time, I had to go to cover a lot of other products, Intune, Entra, the Defender, and then Purview. I know it's a lot, but my goal was to understand the holistic view of how this works in protecting the user data, device, and app. Thank you.
Thanks, Amir. Thanks a lot. So before we sign off, couple of things. Number one, there is a feedback form which is put up on the chat. Request all of you to please put it up. There is one question regarding assessments. I once again repeat, Microsoft security assessments. There is a process for it. It's a very, very elaborate assessment which will give you a very good clarity in terms of where you are in terms of your security posture. But what if you have to pick up few things and go, it will be this, that we start with secure school. So, right from our school days, we have been taught this guy is good because he got 90%. this person is not so good because you got 70%. So, our mind, our thought process is in tune to this whole idea that, yeah, score more is good, score less is not so good. So Microsoft has taken that aspect and put it in their system by saying, go to secure score. Once you go to secure score, then we go and look at those 4 portals which Amit showed, right? The identity score, the device management score, threat protection score, data protection. Those are 4 portals which were shown today. And if we do this, I think it's a fair enough thing to say that we would have achieved a fair degree of protection and compliance. And after that, it's more of, doing it incrementally and going on. And let's remember one thing. We are not saying that by doing this, you are going to be 100% secure. No, you cannot be 100% secure. When I've had discussions with my customers, they say, no, then you have to guarantee me 100% security. Sorry, security, whether in digital world or in a physical world, can never be 100%. What we can do is we can go on adding layers of security, okay, and make it more and more and more difficult for people to, attack us. That's the only thing which is possible. And security, like in the physical world, in the digital world also, once you have set up the whole parameters, you need to monitor it. So regular monitoring is super critical, which means, on certain things to be done on daily basis, certain things to be done on a weekly basis, certain things to be done on a monthly basis. We are offering certain level of managed services. We have our gold and silver managed services which we're offering. Our team will share that with the people on the call, whereby unless and until you do the monitoring on a regular basis, things will not work out, right? That's super important. So I think a lot of learning, and the great part is Business Premium is just one platform which is doing so much. It is really doing so much. And let's start off with Business Premium. And then there are obviously certain options available. There might be certain specific customers with some specific high security requirements, where the good news is there are certain add-ons available to address. So, for some of us who need those specific add-ons, like somebody may need very high level of, data protection, then we may have to go for the highest purview capability. We can always do that add-on to Business Premium. Or somebody may need a very high level of threat protection. So we can look at that aspect also. Those options are there. And the biggest secret is Microsoft is among the top 3 security vendors in the world. That's something which is a big secret, but it's a factual statement. So people who are looking whether Microsoft has got security solutions, it's actually among the top 3 worldwide in terms of sheer numbers. Having said that, Amir, thank you very much. We are exactly at 12:30 India time, on time, and we would like to close it on time with a big thank you to you, Amir, for taking up this whole session and taking us through all this, which is possible. Just one SKU, Business Premium, so much you can do. It's pretty amazing.